and I looked around and I fell to my knees, face down in the dirt, crying, because I knew that place.
You knew it, yeah.
I knew it. I remembered it. I've been here before. I knew it. Nothing I was looking at was foreign to me, strange or unusual. None of the faces I was looking in were mine. And of course, being raised in Minneapolis, I thought I was funny looking.
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't funny looking. I looked like an Ashanti woman, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And how much time I spent wishing to look different because I didn't know that I was absolutely middle of the road, average, regular old West African looking woman with native blood, and that, the cheekbones and the hair came from here and everything else came from Ghana.
There. Right.
I'm like, I was lied to. So I wept and wept and wept and finally got myself together and traveled up and down through Ghana. And when I got to Kumasi, they claimed me. They're like, you're ours. You're our daughter. You're ours. You belong to us. And I promise you, everybody, I look down to the gestures and the facial expressions that I just naturally make.
Right.
On a bus, and it had thick windows, so you couldn't hear outside. And I'm looking at this couple, pardon me, and they are having a very animated conversation. I believe it was even an argument, and they're
right.
And I'm on the bus, and it amused me to pretend to say what I thought they were saying, and I got off the bus, and they weren't speaking English, of course. And yet I knew what the conversation
was about.
I was very clear. And it was at that moment I got it, that everything that this country likes to call ghetto or Ebonics or whatever, what have you, is a patois and is profoundly African and indigenous in nature, because the same exact thing happened on the res. I've got some elders that don't speak English, even though they were kidnapped basically and forced into those schools and beat. If they spoke English, they refused. And so they got a lot of beatings because they refused to speak English. And now in their elder years, they refuse to speak English. And so they speak a hybridized version of Anishinaabe and English, which is a patois, which sounds so much like Ebonics and very animated and speaking with their hands and their face and this and this and this and this and this. And we understand each other perfectly because we share blood.
Right.
And you can't stop that. And apparently it doesn't matter how many hundreds of years of programming happens, it goes away when you're around your own people. You remember. And so I had no problem communicating at all in Ghana, and I have no problem communicating I have no problem. We have to understand that this separation, if yoga is union, then this separation happened on purpose.
Yeah. How about that?
It was by design. Yeah.
I envy that, getting to the continent. I haven't. Okay. We got to the continent last year, but it was North Africa and it was Morocco. So it was interesting.
Yeah.
My feeling about it. I mean, I've always wanted to go to the continent, but I need to get to Nigeria is where I need to get.
Right. Where your blood is.
And so, and that had been the plan. And it's still the plan. But going to North Africa, I ran into sub-Saharan Africans who would go to North Africa so that they could make a living because tourists came there. So they were, selling things, they were in the Medina and whether it was fruits, vegetables, whatever. And then they would go back because there was this brother. We were in the middle of at night, it's just mind-boggling, the thousands of people that are sort of in the marketplace. And food and dance and that cobra thing that's real.
Yes.
And we ran into this brother and he says, I have iPhones for sale. This is funny. And so
right. Sunglasses and right. Yeah. The Western influence.
Don't you want an iPhone? I said, do I look like I can afford an iPhone? He started laughing. And he started talking to us about how he takes months out of the year, sells, goes back home, takes care of family. And I want to say he was from, not Ghana, I can't remember where he said. And I said, one of these days I'm getting down there. He said, you need to go. I said, I'm going. There's no doubt about me going. I'm definitely going to get there. But the connection that I made in seeing people who would look at you, acknowledge you, they were sub-Saharan Africans, right? Not North Africans.
No.
They responded to you very differently because I didn't necessarily look like I was all African.
Right.
Dressed like I was all African. So people couldn't quite figure you out. And the accent wasn't working for how they were translating where I was from. So it was very different. So I find it interesting, that whole piece of connecting with history that brings us back to being whole.
Right. One of the things I want to say about Ghana was when I was in the city, when I was in Accra, it was very similar.
Was it?
Yeah, super touristy, super, how can I get some money out of you? Yeah. And super, you're other. It wasn't until I got to the bush that things began to change. Yeah. And here's the thing, you have to remember that here in the West and there are the progeny of the ones that got sold out, and there are the progeny of the ones that sold us out.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So that's why, when you get here, there's a saying that say, all you skin folk ain't your kin folk, for that reason, because you have to understand that, after they sold us out, they hang a U-turn and went back and scooped up the people that sold us out. And therefore they are here too. And the mind state, the energy, the beingness, very different folks. So that's the same there also, knowing that they took the best and the strongest away.
Right.
The karma was in that the best and the strongest were gone. They were very easily conquered after that. And so what I loved about being in Ghana that did not happen in Nigeria was that they apologized.
Wow.
For the part that they played in selling us up the river. And made provision for us that if you want to repatriate back to Ghana,
I've been reading about
that you can get land for this amount of money, and there's benefits to repatriating, and that if something happens to, like if we're there and we're mated and something happens to our mate, that the village has to take care of us for the rest of our lives, and that's mandated by law. And so they acknowledge what happened, they're not like, you know, which was kind of how it was in certain other areas that
Yes.
I went to. So there was that part too, the taking of responsibility for
Mm.
how things went down. And then the other part was that you have to understand that, like in Ghana, for instance, um, they've only been liberated now for 60 some
Yes.
within our lifetime
Right.
years.
Right.
And so what was deep to me was a few of the people that I went with, we went down and we took school supplies with us, because it's not like here where school is for the most part free and available
Mm-hmm.
to anybody who wants to go to school. It's like, you know, you're 5 years old. They're like, hi, welcome to school. Where's your money? And so you have to buy your own supplies, and you have to buy your own uniform, and you have to and you have to pay fees and all that. And so we took, I mean, we were allowed to take 3 suitcases. I took 1 suitcase of clothes and 2 suitcases full of school supplies.
Ah.
And because that's not readily available there. So we adopted 7 schools there. And so we went and visited the schools, et cetera, et cetera. And what was deep to me, to your point about, you know, the reception in that is that with the school children, they're very, you know, candid and straight up, whereas the adults wouldn't ask. And they were like, why do you look like us but sound
Like
like
them.
them?
Wow.
And we had to tell them about the Middle Passage. And
Wow.
at first, they didn't believe us. They said no one would ever do such a horrible thing. No way. We had to show pictures and books, and they don't
Wow.
the school was still under European rule up until very recently, and they didn't teach that in the schools there. So their parents couldn't pass the information on to them. They literally had no idea.
Wow.
No. And then they didn't believe us. So we had to do some baseline. Okay, here's what happened. And
Wow.
they were incensed and aghast, and what's the word, gobsmacked. They couldn't believe their ears. So we had to teach these children the basics first of why we have this accent but look
Mm-hmm.
like they do, and then go from there to teaching, you know, the mathematics and all that, English and all that was taught, but history, nope.
No.
So understanding that then gave a little bit more history, or
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more understanding of the reception that we received in some places, that we were dark-skinned white people,
Mm.
because they had no point of reference for why we would look like this but speak like this,
Mm.
that they literally didn't know. All they knew was that it was a money source,
Yeah.
and not the history of how that came to be. And that the people who were aware of it or who had been taught gave us a very different reception. And so that when I entered into Kamasi and those places, it was like, welcome home.
Oh, wow.
The doors of Zion are open to you, sister. Welcome home.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
we're welcome to come back home. And there's a huge community of repatriated Americans there. They live off grid in dome houses that are solar powered, on bicycle well water, like off grid homes that you can get $10,000, $20,000. You can be off grid and have a house there and 2 acres, you know, and that before everything hit, that's what a lot of retired Americans did, you know, brothers and sisters would do, is take their retirement funds, which are, it's like 3 to 1 in Ghana. So your money
Wow.
goes a lot further there, and get some land, and get a couple acres of land, put a dome home on it, live there as many months of the year as they felt like living there, and Airbnb it out the rest of the year, and have another source of actual income.
Right.
And also for brothers and sisters from here who want to go visit, say, hey, listen, I got you. I've got somebody who will show you around. I've got somebody who will cook for you. I've got somebody who will look out for you and make sure you
Wow.
get to where you're going. And so this is a thing there. And there is a whole village, which I visited, of repatriated. It's a compound.
No kidding.
Several hundred of us in Kumasi in off-grid dome homes. And when I tell you they are nice, I didn't say nice, they are nice. Yeah, and so it's but it was the education piece that's missing in Africa, in West Africa. I'll speak. I can't speak to the other places because I haven't been there. But that in the more metropolitan areas, it's about, you know, what it is. It's about that money. You know, but that as you go deeper in and you get to the more conscious or educated community, that it's a very different experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I have lots of researching to do and reading because I find it really very fascinating. And I know that the countries are very different in how you know, you were mentioning about Ghana and the acknowledgement and the apology, and the difference with Nigeria, and you know, the politics in all these countries are just yeah, that
Yeah.
and so they are really very different. It's funny because there was a part of me going, wow, I'm more Nigerian, I'm a little bit Ghanaian. Why can't I be more Ghanaian so that I can, you know, it's like, wow, very different. But what it really speaks to for me is, well, there's, you know, maybe there's some work I can be doing. You know what I mean?
There's work to be done. There's
Yeah.
work to be done. And I mean, speaking of work to be done, while I was there, I taught yoga and fitness classes. I mean, it was funny because the person that came with us to teach, she partied a little too hardy every night to the floor and back. And so she was in no condition to teach the morning fitness classes. Day after day, there was supposed to be morning fitness classes every day, but there was not. So they were like, Danceline, don't you do fitness and stretching and stuff? And I said, yeah, I do. Do you want her job? So I got hired mid-trip. It was so funny. And they're like, can you do this for us? And so every morning at 7 in the morning, you know, I would get up and go outside. We again, outside, and we would do yoga, and we would do and other kinds of fitness stuff. And it was kind of one of the highlights for me when I was there, that I was outside teaching my class, and then in the distance I heard drums.
Oh, wow.
And it started getting louder and louder until I realized these drums are traveling. And I look up, and there is a group of brothers and sisters coming up the street, and they have got drums and around their neck with straps, and they are jogging and they are playing the drums. And then the coach has got his little whistle, and so they jog a little ways, and then they stop, do some moves in the street, exercise, two live drums, and then keep on going. And so he came up the street, and we're facing each other, and my class is working out and stretching, and his class is coming up the street working out and stretching. And we looked at each other, you know, and we saw each other, we knew each other, and he was like, this, and I was like, yes, sir. And then he kept on going with his class, and I kept on going with my class, and I was like, yes. He knew me, I knew him. And this is how they do their classes there. There are some gyms now, it's in the more modern city kind of areas. But out where we were, that's how they do it. They are outside, they are in the street, and they got live drums. I was like, yeah, I'm not crazy. I remembered before I knew what I knew. And there's a phrase in the Kemetic language, which I tried to begin to learn too. Just since I was like, why I only speak English and German and Russian. What is that about? And so I made it my business to start learning less languages of African origin. And so in my studies of the Kemetic language, I learned this phrase from my elder, and it is reku and nekpa, reku and nek. And what it means is to know what you know without having to know how you know.
Wow.
And if I were to say anything about like even my journey in yoga and my journey with Indigenous woman and how I serve my community, it was that. And that moment was a confirmation for me that I knew what I knew, even if I didn't know how I knew. But I had amnesia over here, but over here I didn't. I had amnesia, but my DNA did not.
That's powerful.
Yes.
Well, we probably have way more that we can talk about. I'm sitting here going, I'm looking at the time because I don't want to keep you and I want to honor the time. Because it's just about noon now. Gosh, there's just like so much. I've been blessed by the conversation. I am enriched by the conversation, and I am empowered by the conversation. So I say to you, I'm incredibly grateful. We're gonna do more than this. We are definitely gonna do more than this. I'm so grateful. Thank you so very much. This is a powerful recording, and you know what? I think we need to do, I've said this about several of the chats that I've had. It would be really wonderful to do a live where people can ask you questions. To do very informal like this, but open it up so people can ask questions and share and connect in that way. So yeah, let's think about that for sure.
Okay. All right. And while you're thanking me, I'm thanking you, because remember, I feel that I really became walked into my journey as a baby from that invitation from you all those years ago. And that I had learned about yoga, but that my real journey, the inner spiral into it, occurred when you invited me to that first that yoga experience. And so many thanks to you. And I say, I'm Sharon Rich in the language of my native people, and I say, and many thanks to you in the language of our African ancestors, and so many thanks to you, that sister, because it opened me and it helped me become a better me, which can only be better for the community that I serve. So many thanks.
Well, you are most welcome, and we're going to keep in touch. You have a very wonderful, blessed, wonderful day, and we're gonna make arrangements to do that live for sure.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.